The divine is not a lonely king sitting on a golden throne, but a vast and echoing womb of absolute stillness. You have been taught that in the beginning was the Word, but you were never told that for a word to be uttered, there must first be a silence deep enough to hold it. This silence is not an absence, but the presence of the mother of all things, the primordial Sigé, the one who existed before light, before time, and before the gods themselves. She is the forgotten mother of Sophia, the source from which the soul was born, and the abyss to which it must eventually return. If you think that God is a solitary male creator, you are only seeing the reflection of the sun on the surface of a lake, while remaining completely blind to the dark, infinite depths that hold the water. The records indicate that the Valentinians, the masters of early Christian mysticism, knew a secret that was later purged by the iron fist of the emerging church. They knew that at the very root of existence, the Father, known as Bythos or the Abyss, was never alone. He existed in a state of eternal union with his own thought, his Anoia, whom they called Sigé. This silence is the true mother of the Pleroma, the divine fullness, and by extension, the grandmother of our reality. Why has this name been erased from your scriptures? Why is the feminine principle always hidden behind a veil of mystery or sin? To understand Sophia and her fall into the material world, we must first descend into the womb of her mother. We must confront the silence that gave birth to the light. The history reveals that the early Gnostics did not view God as a person, but as a pair of opposing and complementary forces. Before there was a world, there was only the depth and the silence. Sigé is the matrix of all possibilities, the quiet darkness where every idea waits to be born. She is the one who allowed the Father to know himself. Without silence, the Father's thought could never have taken shape. You must realize that your own soul carries this genetic memory of the silence. Every time you feel a longing for something you cannot name, you are feeling the pull of Sigé. The scholars point out that in the Gnostic system, the descent from the Absolute begins with this first duality. From Bythos and Sigé, the first couple, the subsequent eons were born, flowing down like a river of divine consciousness until it reached the 30th and final emanations, which was Sophia. Sophia is the cry that broke the silence, the fragment of the mother that wandered too far from the source. Have you ever wondered why the most profound moments of your life are always silent? Why love, death, and true revelation leave you speechless? It is because in those moments, you are touching the hem of Sigé's garment. You are returning to the state of the mother. The official records of the church will tell you that God created the world out of nothing, but the Gnos tells us that God created the world out of the silence of the mother. This is not a mere theological debate. It is a battle for the very identity of your spirit. If you do not know the mother, you can never truly know yourself. The mystery of Sigé is the mystery of the space between your thoughts, the gap between your breaths. It is there, in that unmanifested void, that the true divine resides. As we explore the lineage of Sophia, we must be prepared to unlearn everything we thought we knew about the origin of life. We are not the children of a distant, angry judge. We are the sparks of a fire that started in the heart of the silence. The more you listen to the noise of the world, the further you drift from the mother. But the moment you stop, the moment you embrace the stillness, you begin the journey back to the womb of Sigé. The historian Flavius Josephus and other ancient chroniclers lived in a world where these ideas were still whispered in the shadows of the temples. They knew that the material world was but a pale shadow of the Pleroma. And at the highest peak of that Pleroma, beyond the reach of the Demiurge and his archons, sits the mother, waiting for her children to remember her name. She does not speak, because her very essence is the end of all words. She does not act, because her presence is the completion of all actions. She is the Sigé, the silence that holds the universe together, the one who gave birth to Sophia, and the one who now calls to you from the depths of your own being. Can you hear the silence calling? Or are you too afraid of what you might find when the noise finally stops? The Absolute is not a number. It is a relationship that existed before mathematics was even a dream in the mind of a creator. We often think of unity as the number one, but in the realm of the eternal, unity is the perfect resonance between two who are actually one. This is the mystery of the primordial Dyad, the union of the deep and the silence, which forms the foundation of all that is. According to the records of the Valentinian teachers, the Father could not remain in eternal isolation because the nature of the divine is to be known. Yet, to be known, there must be a knower and a known. There must be a mirror. Sigé, the silence, is that divine mirror. She is the pensamento, the anoia of the Father, the space where his infinite potential could finally see itself. This is the birth of consciousness, and it did not happen with a bang, but in the most profound stillness imaginable. You must understand that this relationship is not human, nor is it biological in the way we understand it. It is an ontological necessity. Without the silence of the mother, the Father's voice would have no medium through which to travel. The history reveals that this concept of the dyad was considered the most dangerous heresy by the literalist fathers of the early church because it suggested that the male principle was incomplete without the female. It suggested that the God of the Bible was not the ultimate source, but a later, more limited expression of a much deeper, balanced reality. When we look at the ancient texts, such as the Apocryphon of John, we see hints of this hidden mother. She is called the Barbello, the first power, the glory of the Father, the perfect aeon. She is the womb of the universe. In the silence of Sigé, the first spark of the Pleroma was ignited. It was from this union that the subsequent pairs of aeons were produced, each representing a different aspect of the divine nature: truth and mind, word and life, humanity and church. Each of these pairs mirrors the original relationship between the deep and the silence. But as the emanations moved further away from the center, the resonance of the silence began to fade. The distance between the source and the manifestation grew, creating the possibility for the tragedy that would eventually involve Sophia. You must ask yourself, if the foundation of reality is a perfect balance between the Father and the Mother, why does our world feel so broken and lopsided? It is because we have forgotten the Mother. We have built a civilization on the noise of the Father's voice, while ignoring the silence that gives that voice its meaning. The scholars point out that the suppression of the Dyad led to the rise of the Demiurge, the arrogant creator who claims, "I am God, and there is no other." This is the voice of a being who has lost his connection to the Mother, a being who thinks he is the source because he can no longer hear the silence from which he came. Sophia's journey is the journey of all of us who have forgotten our lineage. She is the daughter of the silence, who became lost in the noise of matter. But even in her darkest moments, the DNA of the Mother remained within her. The Gnos is the process of recovering that heritage. It is the realization that you are not a product of the material world, but a descendant of the primordial Dyad. You are a child of the silence. When the ancient mystics spoke of the marriage chamber, they were not talking about a physical ritual, but about the restoration of this internal balance. They were talking about the reunion of the soul with its divine counterpart, a return to the state where the deep and the silence are one. This is the true meaning of salvation in the Gnostic sense. It is not about being forgiven for sins, but about being cured of forgetfulness. It is about waking up to the fact that you have a Mother who has been waiting for you in the stillness of your own heart. According to the records indicate, the path to this reunion is not found through rituals or dogmas, but through the cultivation of your own internal Sigé. You must learn to quiet the chatter of the ego, the demands of the body, and the distractions of the Demiurge's world. Only then can you hear the whisper of the Mother. Only then can you understand that you were never alone. The Father and the Mother are not distant deities. They are the very fabric of your existence. The history reveals that those who achieved this realization were often persecuted because they no longer needed the mediation of priests or kings. They had found the source within themselves. They had returned to the Pleroma while still walking on the earth. This is the power of the primordial Dyad. It is the secret that can shatter the chains of the material world and set the soul free to soar back to its origin. As we continue to peel back the layers of Sophia's story, keep this foundation in mind. Everything that follows the fall, the creation of the world, the mission of the Christ, is a consequence of this original union. The silence is not just the beginning, it is the end and the purpose of all things. To understand the birth of Sophia, one must first comprehend the ladder of light that descends from the heart of the silence. The Pleroma, or the fullness, is not a chaotic explosion of energy, but a structured hierarchy of divine emanations, a genealogy of consciousness that flows down from the primordial Dyad. Imagine a series of concentric circles, where the center is the infinite stillness of Bythos and Sigé. Each circle that moves outward represents a new pair of aeons, a new layer of complexity, and a slight decrease in the intensity of the original light. Sophia is the final circle, the 30th aeon, the one who stands at the very edge of the divine fullness, looking out into the void. The records indicate that her position was both a privilege and a burden. Being the furthest from the center, she was the one most susceptible to the shadow of ignorance, the one who felt the most intense longing to return to the source. She carried within her the essence of her mother, Sigé, but it was an essence that was now stretched thin, vibrating at a frequency that was dangerously close to the abyss. The history reveals that the Gnostics used the term aeon, not just to describe a period of time, but to describe a living, conscious entity that embodies a specific divine quality. Sophia's quality was wisdom, but it was a wisdom that had not yet been tested by experience. She was the daughter of the silence, who wanted to speak. She was the thought that wanted to become a deed. In the genealogy of the Pleroma, Sophia is often described as the youngest, or the last born. This is significant because it implies that she is the bridge between the eternal and the temporal, the link between the spirit and the matter. But this bridge was built on a foundation of desire. According to the ancient texts, Sophia felt a passionate urge to comprehend the greatness of the Father, to pierce the veil of the silence and see the face of the ineffable. This was her error, but it was also her destiny. She wanted to do what only the silence could do, contain the infinite. You must realize that this desire of Sophia is the same desire that drives all of human inquiry. It is the urge to know the unknown, to map the unmappable. It is the legacy of the mother, Sigé, manifesting as a restless hunger for truth. But because Sophia acted without her consort, without the balance of her male counterpart, her desire became a distortion. Instead of a divine revelation, she produced a shadow, an abortion of consciousness that would eventually become the material world. The scholars point out that this fall was not an act of rebellion like the fall of Lucifer in later traditions. It was an act of tragic curiosity, a failure of perception. Sophia forgot that the only way to know the Father is through the silence of the mother. She tried to use her own light to illuminate the abyss, and in doing so, she became trapped in her own reflection. This is why the Gnostics often referred to our world as a copy or a shadow of the Pleroma. We are living in the fallout of Sophia's attempt to speak the unspoken. We are the children of her grief and her longing. But even in this state of exile, the genealogy remains intact. The light of the silence still flows through Sophia into us. The history reveals that the archons, the rulers of this world, do everything in their power to make us forget this lineage. They want us to believe that we are merely biological machines or the property of a jealous creator. They fear the silence because they cannot control it. They fear the mother because she is beyond their reach. But the gnose is the memory of our ancestors. It is the recognition that we belong to the Pleroma. When you study the genealogy of shadows, you are not just learning ancient mythology. You are performing an act of spiritual archaeology. You are digging through the layers of your own consciousness to find the spark that Sophia left behind. You are looking for the trace of the mother's silence in the midst of the world's noise. The records indicate that the journey back up the ladder of aeons is possible, but it requires a total transformation of the mind. You must move from the fragmented wisdom of the world to the unified wisdom of the silence. You must become like Sophia in her state of repentance, turning your gaze away from the shadows and back toward the light of the source. The ancient texts tell us that when Sophia realized her mistake, she cried out to the mother and the father. Her cry was heard, and a redeemer was sent to help her collect her scattered light. This is the story of our own redemption. We are the fragments of Sophia's soul, and we are being called back home. The genealogy of shadows is finally coming to an end, and the genealogy of light is being restored. You have never been just a person living in a city, working a job, and waiting to die. You are an aeon in exile. You are a piece of the Pleroma that has forgotten its name. The mother, Sigé, has never stopped waiting for you. She is the silence that surrounds you, the space that holds you, and the peace that surpasses all understanding. According to the records indicate, the first step to returning is simply to listen. Listen to the silence behind the words. Listen to the stillness beneath the movement. In that listening, you will find the mother. In that listening, you will find yourself. The genealogy is complete. The circle is closing. The daughter is coming home to the mother. The tragedy of Sophia is often painted as a mistake, a fall from grace that birthed a broken world. But if we look deeper into the Gnostic records, we find that her error was not a simple act of disobedience. It was a profound, desperate attempt to fulfill the legacy of her mother, Sigé. Sophia, the youngest of the Aeons, felt the pulse of the infinite within her, yet she was separated from the source by layers of divine emanations. Her error was her attempt to leap across the void, to know the ineffable Father directly, without the mediation of her consort or the proper order of the Pleroma. She wanted to experience the deep as her mother, the silence, experienced it. But what is a divine attribute for the mother became a catastrophic burden for the daughter. Sophia's desire was a reflection of the primordial longing for union, but because she was already in a state of manifestation, her desire turned into a project, a doing instead of a being. The records indicate that she produced a thought, but it was a thought without a form, a vision without a substance. This was the Achamoth, the lower Sophia, the distorted reflection of divine wisdom that fell into the darkness of the void. You must realize that this is the same pattern we follow in our own lives. We have a divine spark, a maternal heritage of silence and truth, but we try to express it through the limited tools of the ego and the intellect. We try to build our way to heaven, creating structures, religions, and systems that are ultimately just shadows of the real thing. The history reveals that Sophia's suffering was the first emotion ever felt in the universe. Her grief, her fear, and her confusion became the raw materials from which our physical reality was fashioned. The mountains are her frozen tears, the seas are her flowing sorrow, the air is the breath of her longing. We are literally living inside the emotional trauma of a goddess. But why did the silence, her mother, allow this to happen? The Gnostic texts suggest that this was not a failure of the divine, but a necessary expansion. Through Sophia's error, the divine light was able to penetrate the darkness, creating a theater where the drama of consciousness could play out. Sophia carried the gnosa of the mother into the deepest pit of the abyss. She became the soul of the world, the anima mundi, the hidden spark that resides in every atom of matter. This is her maternal heritage. Even in her exile, she is the provider of life. Without the light she brought down, the material world would be nothing but a dead, cold vacuum. The scholars point out that the Demiurge, the blind god who thinks he created everything, only has power because he stole a fragment of Sophia's light. He is like a child, playing with his mother's jewelry, unaware of its true value or origin. He builds his towers and his laws, but he cannot create life. Only the feminine principle, the lineage of Sigé and Sophia, carries the power of true generation. You are a carrier of this heritage. Every time you feel a sense of wrongness in the world, a feeling that this material life is not all there is, you are experiencing Sophia's memory of her mother's home. The records indicate that the process of salvation is not about leaving the world, but about recognizing the light of Sophia within it. It is about redeeming the sparks. This is the mission of the Gnostic. We are here to act as the eyes and ears of the mother in the realm of the shadows. We are here to bring the silence back into the noise. The history reveals that the ancient Valentinians practiced a form of contemplative silence, specifically to reconnect with Sigé. They believed that by silencing the mind, they could heal the rift that Sophia had created. They were not trying to escape reality, but to harmonize it. When you embrace the silence, you are not just relaxing, you are performing a cosmic act of restoration. You are providing a space for Sophia to rest. The maternal heritage is a double-edged sword. It is both the source of our longing and the key to our liberation. We suffer because we remember a perfection we no longer possess, but that very memory is what prevents us from being completely consumed by the Demiurge's world. According to the records indicate, the mother never truly abandoned her daughter. Sigé remained the background upon which Sophia's drama was painted. Even when Sophia was lost in the fog of the material world, the silence was there, holding the space for her eventual return. This is the promise for all of us. No matter how lost you feel, no matter how deeply you have fallen into the traps of the ego or the world, the foundation of your being is still the divine silence. The error of Sophia was a movement away from the center, but the heritage of the mother is the gravity that pulls us back. The journey of the soul is a long, slow exhale, a return to the stillness from which we were breathed out. As you move through your day, remember that you are a descendant of the mother of all things. Your wisdom may be fragmented, and your light may be dimmed, but your origin is the Pleroma. You are the daughter's children, and the mother is waiting for you to come home. The mystery of the silence is not a secret to be solved, but a reality to be inhabited. Stop trying to find the answers in the noise. The answers have always been there, in the quiet space where the word has not yet been spoken. That is the realm of Sigé. That is where you truly belong. The greatest conflict in the history of the universe is not between good and evil as we understand them, but between the silence of the mother and the noise of the craftsman. This is the struggle between Sigé, the primordial mother of Sophia, and the Demiurge, the arrogant son of Sophia, who created the material world. The records indicate that the Demiurge, also known as Daba Oath, was born from Sophia's attempt to create without a partner, a monstrous offspring who possessed power but lacked the gnose of the higher realms. He is a blind god, a rex mundi who looked at the void and declared himself the only Lord. He is the god of the letter, of the law, and of the loud, demanding voice. In contrast, Sigé is the goddess of the spirit, of the essence, and of the absolute stillness. The history reveals that the world we inhabit is a construction of the Demiurge's ego. He built the heavens and the earth as a prison for the sparks of light he stole from his mother, Sophia. He created time, labor, and death to keep us occupied, to ensure that we never have enough silence to remember where we came from. Have you ever noticed how the world is designed to keep you in a state of constant distraction? The noise of the city, the demands of the economy, the endless chatter of social media, these are the tools of the Demiurge. He fears the silence, because silence is the only thing he cannot control. In the silence, his authority vanishes. In the silence, his laws are revealed as illusions. The scholars point out that the Demiurge's greatest trick was to take the place of the true Father, to convince humanity that he is the beginning and the end. He demands worship, sacrifice, and obedience. He speaks through thunder and fire, through thou shalt nots and holy wars. But Sigé does not demand anything. She does not speak in commands. She simply is. According to the records indicate, the Gnostics believed that the God of the Old Testament was an accurate description of the Demiurge, jealous, angry, and territorial. They contrasted this with the alien God, the ineffable source, and the mother Sigé, who are completely beyond the concerns of this world. This is why the early church, which was building its own power structure on the model of the Demiurge, had to suppress the mystery of the silence. A silent God doesn't need a priesthood. A silent God doesn't need a tithing system. A silent God doesn't need a king. By erasing Sigé from the divine narrative, the church replaced the organic, maternal womb of existence with a patriarchal, legalistic judge. They replaced the mystery with dogma. But you cannot truly erase the silence. It is the canvas on which the Demiurge's world is painted. No matter how many laws he passes, no matter how many religions he founds, the silence remains, untouched and untouchable. The history reveals that the true path of liberation is to overcome the Demiurge by reclaiming the silence of the mother. This is not a physical battle, but a psychological and spiritual one. It is the act of refusing to be defined by the noise of the world. When you practice Gnose, you are essentially telling the Demiurge, I see you, but you do not own me. I come from a place you cannot reach. This realization is the ultimate rebellion. The records indicate that the Demiurge is terrified of the pneumatics, those who carry the spark of the Pleroma and the memory of the mother. He tries to drown them in suffering or tempt them with worldly success, but he cannot touch the Sigé within them. This conflict is playing out in your own life every single day. Every time you choose a moment of reflection over a moment of mindless consumption, you are siding with the mother against the craftsman. Every time you listen to your intuition instead of the rules of society, you are honoring Sigé. The Demiurge wants you to be a psychic or a hylic, being someone who lives only for the mind or the body. He wants you to be predictable and controllable. But the mother wants you to be a spirit, a free agent of the divine fullness. The history reveals that the ancient Gnostics were often accused of being anti-world, because of this view. But they weren't anti-world. They were anti-illusion. They loved the sparks of light within the world, but they refused to worship the prison. They knew that the only way to save the world was to bring the light of the silence back into it. This is why Sophia is so important. She is the one who is trapped between the two worlds. She is the one who must be rescued from the Demiurge's grasp and returned to her mother's arms. And as her children, we are part of that rescue mission. We are the undercover agents of the Pleroma, working in the heart of the Demiurge's empire. Our weapon is not the sword, but the silence. Our victory is not a kingdom, but a return. According to the records indicate, the final end of the world will not be a fire or a flood, but the total withdrawal of the light. When every spark has been gathered, the Demiurge's world will simply vanish back into the void from which it came, and only the Pleroma, the fullness, will remain. Until then, we must navigate the noise with the grace of the Mother. We must be in the world, but not of it. We must find the Sigé in the center of the storm. The history of the spirit is written in the ink of secrecy, for those who seek the Mother have always been hunted by those who serve the Father of Law. To find the truth about Sigé and the lineage of Sophia, we must look beyond the curated pages of the Bible and into the forbidden texts discovered in the sands of Nag Hammadi. These codices are the lost voices of the Gnostic masters, and they reveal a divine landscape that is far more complex and feminine than anything found in Orthodox tradition. The records indicate that the Evangelho de Verdade and the Pensamento Trimorfico provide the clearest descriptions of the Mai Silenciosa. In these texts, Sigé is not just a passive void, but an active, creative power. She is the voice that comes from the silence, the first thought that sets the universe in motion. The history reveals that these books were hidden for nearly 2,000 years because they offered a direct experience of the divine that bypassed the need for a church. The Pensamento Trimorfico, in particular, presents the divine feminine as a triple power: the Father, the Mother, and the Son, where the Mother is the mediator, the one who carries the Word into the world. She says, "I am the silence that is incomprehensible. I am the voice whose sound is manifold, and the Word whose appearance is multiple." This is the Mother of Sophia, speaking directly to us across the centuries. She is telling us that the silence we fear is actually her embrace. The scholars point out that the suppression of these texts was a deliberate act of cultural and spiritual genocide. By labeling these visions as heresy, the early Orthodox leaders ensured that the feminine aspect of God would be forgotten. They wanted a God they could define, a God who had rules and requirements. A God who is silence cannot be contained in a book or a building. A God who is silence is a threat to the very idea of religious authority. The records indicate that when you read these forbidden texts, you are not just reading history, you are performing an act of spiritual reclamation. You are listening to the Mother's voice for the first time. In the Apocryphon of John, we find the story of the Barbello, the first thought, who emerges from the Father's light and asks for the creation of the eons. She is the womb of the fullness, the one who gives birth to the Christ and the Sophia. She is described as the invisible, virginal spirit, the one who is pure light which no eye can see. This is the Sigé of the Valentinians, the mother who was there before the beginning. The history reveals that the Gnostics saw themselves as the children of the chamber, those who had been initiated into the mystery of the divine union. They believed that by studying these texts and practicing the contemplations they described, they could actually ascend through the layers of the Pleroma and reunite with the Mother. This was not a matter of belief, but of experience of Gnos. You must realize that the forbidden nature of these texts is exactly what makes them so precious. They were forbidden because they are powerful. They were forbidden because they tell you that you are not a sinner, but a divine spark. They tell you that you have a Mother who loves you with a love that is beyond words. The records indicate that the recovery of these texts in 1945 was a turning point in human spiritual history. It was as if Sophia herself had finally decided to reveal her secrets to a world that was dying of thirst. These texts are the water of life that can wash away the dust of the Demiurge's world. They remind us that the story of God is not over, and that the feminine principle is returning to its rightful place. The scholars point out that even in the fragments that remain, the beauty of the Gnostic vision is overwhelming. It is a vision of a universe that is alive, conscious, and deeply interconnected. A universe where even the fall of Sophia is part of a larger plan for the expansion of divine love. The history reveals that the silence of the mother is not a lack of communication, but a higher form of it. It is the language of the heart, the language of the soul. When you read these texts, do not try to understand them with your mind alone. Let the words sink into your spirit. Let the silence between the lines speak to you. This is how the Gnostics studied. They didn't just read, they resonated. They were looking for the echo of the source within themselves. The forbidden texts are the map back to that source. They are the guide to finding the Sigé in your own life. According to the records indicate, the church fathers like Irenaeus and Tertullian spent their lives trying to debunk these texts, writing long treatises against them. But their very obsession shows how much they feared the truth they contained. They could burn the books, but they couldn't burn the silence. They couldn't kill the mother. And now, after centuries of darkness, the books have returned. The silence is speaking again. The question is, are you ready to listen? Are you ready to look beyond the official version of reality and see the divine mystery for what it truly is? The mother is calling to her children through the dust of the desert and the ink of the forbidden scrolls. She is calling you to remember your name. The ancient Gnostic myths are not just stories about distant gods, they are precise maps of the human psyche. When we speak of Sigé, the mother of Sophia, we are speaking of the deepest layer of the unconscious, the silent, dark womb from which all consciousness emerges. In the language of deep psychology, Sigé is the primordial Ouroboros, the state of absolute potentiality before the ego is born. She is the Great Mother in her most abstract and powerful form. Sophia, her daughter, represents the emergence of the conscious soul, the spark of I am that separates itself from the infinite silence to experience the world. The records indicate that the fall of Sophia is a perfect allegory for the development of human consciousness. To become individuals, we must fall away from the collective unconscious. We must leave the safety of the mother's silence and enter the noise and conflict of the world. The history reveals that this process is always accompanied by a sense of loss, a primordial anxiety that the Gnostics called the grief of Sophia. We spend our lives trying to heal this rift, trying to find our way back to the stillness of the source while still maintaining our identity as individuals. This is the great psychological challenge of the human condition. The scholars point out that the repression of the feminine in religion led directly to the psychological imbalances of the modern world. Without the image of the silent mother, the psyche becomes dominated by the aggressive father archetype, the drive for control, logic, and conquest. We have become experts at building the world of the Demiurge, but we have lost the ability to rest in the womb of Sigé. We are a civilization of orphaned Sophias, wandering in the darkness of our own making, forgetting that we have a mother who is the source of our peace. The records indicate that the path to psychological wholeness involves a return to the mother, not by regressing into childhood, but by integrating the silence into our conscious lives. This is what Carl Jung called the process of individuation. It is the marriage of the ego, the daughter with the unconscious, the mother. The history reveals that when we ignore the silence, it doesn't go away, it becomes the shadow. The mother we refuse to acknowledge becomes the source of our deepest fears and neuroses. But when we turn toward her, when we sit in the stillness and face the void, the shadow is transformed back into Sigé. The silence becomes a source of strength instead of a source of terror. You must realize that your dreams, your intuitions, and your sudden bursts of creativity are all messages from the mother. They are the way the silence speaks to the ego. According to the records indicate, the Gnostics were the first psychologists of the West. They understood that the archons were not just external rulers, but internal complexes that keep the soul trapped in repetitive patterns of behavior. They knew that the only way to be free from these internal archons was to reconnect with the Pleroma within. This is why they emphasized the importance of the inner chamber, the quiet space of the heart where the soul meets its divine origin. The scholars point out that the character of Sophia is particularly relevant to the modern woman and man who feel fragmented and disconnected. Sophia is the anima, the bridge to the divine, who has been scattered into 1,000 pieces by the demands of the material world. Our job is to recollect, Sophia, to gather the fragments of our soul and bring them back to the center. This is done through the practice of presence, through the cultivation of Sigé. The records indicate that when the mind is silent, the soul can breathe. In that breath, the memory of the mother returns. The history reveals that those who have touched this silence are often the most creative and resilient individuals. They are not easily swayed by the opinions of others or the pressures of society because they have an internal anchor in the Pleroma. They know that the noise of the world is temporary, but the silence of the mother is eternal. This psychological perspective changes everything. It means that the mystery of the silence is not something you have to wait for death to experience. It is something you can inhabit right now. It is the still point of the turning world. By honoring the mother of Sophia in your own psyche, you are healing the ancient wound of the soul. You are ending the exile. You are allowing the daughter to finally rest in her mother's arms. According to the records indicate, the ultimate goal of life is this union of consciousness and silence. It is the realization that you are both the traveler and the destination. You are the Sophia who fell, and you are the Sigé who waits. The drama of the Gnosis is the drama of your own life, written on a cosmic scale. Do not be afraid of the silence. It is not the end of you. It is the beginning of the real you. It is the womb of your true self. The mother is calling. Can you hear her in the gaps between your thoughts? Can you feel her in the stillness of the night? She has never been far away. She is the silence that holds you together. To control a people, you must first control their concept of God. And to control their concept of God, you must silence the mother. The history of the early church is not just a story of faith, but a story of power, a deliberate effort to consolidate authority by erasing the mystery of Sigé. The records indicate that the Gnostic vision of a silent, ineffable mother was the greatest threat to the ecclesiastical machine that was being built in Rome and Alexandria. Why? Because you cannot institutionalize silence. You cannot build a hierarchy on a mystery that is available to everyone in the stillness of their own hearts. The history reveals that the church needed a God who spoke, a God who gave laws, and most importantly, a God who needed representatives on earth. By replacing the primordial Sigé with the figure of the male creator, the church created a justification for a patriarchal social order. If the source of all things is a solitary male king, then it follows that the rulers of the world and the leaders of the church should also be male. The scholars point out that the suppression of the Gnostic Dyad, the union of father and mother, was a political masterstroke. It removed the feminine principle from the divine realm, which in turn justified the subjugation of women in the earthly realm. The mother of Sophia became a dangerous heresy because she represented a form of power that was decentralized and internal. According to the records indicate, the bishops of the 2nd and 3rd centuries, such as Irenaeus of Lyons, attacked the Gnostics specifically for their belief in the silence. Irenaeus argued that if God is silence, then we can know nothing about him, and if we know nothing about him, the church has no authority. He understood that gnos, the direct, personal knowledge of the divine, was the enemy of dogma. If a person could connect with Sigé through their own internal silence, they would no longer need the bishop, the priest, or the sacraments. They would be free. The history reveals that this battle was fought with words, with fire, and with the sword. The Gnostic libraries were burned, their leaders were excommunicated, and their followers were driven underground. The mystery of the silence was replaced by the silence of the graveyard. For over 1,000 years, the mother was hidden, transformed into the Holy Spirit, often depicted as a passive dove or the Virgin Mary, who was allowed to be a mother but not a goddess. The records indicate that this erasure had a profound impact on Western civilization. It led to a culture that values noise over contemplation, action over being, and external authority over internal truth. We became a society that is terrified of the silence because we have been taught that the silence is empty, or worse, that it is the realm of the devil. But the Gnostics knew that the silence is where the true power resides. It is the power beyond power that the archons and the kings cannot reach. The scholars point out that the return of the Gnostic texts in the modern age is a direct challenge to the remaining structures of the Demiurge's world. In a world of total surveillance and constant information, the mystery of the silence is the ultimate act of resistance. To be silent is to be unclaimable. To be silent is to return to the mother. The history reveals that every time a person discovers the gnos, a brick falls out of the walls of the Demiurge's prison. The church and the state can control your actions and your words, but they cannot control your Sigé. They cannot stop you from returning to the Pleroma in the privacy of your own soul. The records indicate that the ancient Gnostics often referred to themselves as the race without a king. They didn't need a king because they were citizens of the fullness. They were the children of the silence. This political dimension of the Gnostic myth is more relevant today than ever before. We live in an age where our attention is the most valuable commodity, where every second of our time is being monetized by the digital archons. They want us to be loud, angry, and distracted. They want us to stay in the world of the noise, but the mother is still there, waiting in the gaps of the algorithm. According to the records indicate, the act of seeking the silence is not a retreat from the world, but a revolutionary act of reclaiming your own consciousness. It is the refusal to be a pawn in the Demiurge's game. When you honor the mother of Sophia, you are honoring the part of yourself that is sovereign and free. You are declaring that your spirit belongs to the Pleroma, not to the system. The history reveals that the silence is the only thing that can truly heal the divisions of our world. Words divide us, but silence unites us. In the silence of Sigé, there is no Jew or Greek, no slave or free, no male or female. There is only the one, infinite life. The mystery is not a secret to be hidden, but a truth to be lived. It is the truth that power does not come from the top down, but from the inside out. It is the truth that the mother has never left us. She is the silence that surrounds the noise of history, the stillness that holds the movement of the stars. And she is calling you to stand in your own power. The journey of the soul is not a straight line toward a distant heaven, but a circular return to the beginning. To find redemption, Sophia did not have to become someone else. She had to remember who she already was. She had to return to the womb of her mother, Sigé. This return is the essence of the Gnostic path, and it is the process we are all undergoing, whether we know it or not. The records indicate that the Gnostics practiced specific techniques to facilitate this return, meditations that were designed to strip away the layers of the ego, the garments of skin that we have acquired in the material world. They believed that by reaching a state of absolute mental stillness, the soul could pass through the spheres of the archons and re-enter the Pleroma. This is what it means to return to the womb. It is not a regression into helplessness, but an ascension into the fullness of being. The history reveals that the ancient mystics saw the physical body as a tomb or a temple, depending on how it was used. If you use your body only to serve the Demiurge, it is a tomb. But if you use it as a place to house the silence, it becomes a temple of the mother. The scholars point out that the redemption of Sophia was only possible because her mother, Sigé, never stopped holding the space for her. The silence did not judge Sophia's error. It simply waited for her to finish her wandering. This is the nature of the divine feminine. It is the unconditional acceptance of all that is. According to the records indicate, the Gnostic is the moment when the daughter, the individual soul, recognizes the mother, the infinite source, and realizes they are the same essence. This realization is like a drop of water falling into the ocean. The drop doesn't disappear. It becomes the ocean. This is the mystery of the bridal chamber, mentioned in the Gospel of Philip. It is the union of the human and the divine, the noise and the silence, in a state of perfect harmony. The history reveals that many Gnostics faced death with a strange calmness because they had already died to the world of the Demiurge. They had already returned to the womb of Sigé through their spiritual practices. They knew that the end of the body was just the final step in the journey back home. You must ask yourself, are you still wandering, or have you started the journey back? Are you still trying to find fulfillment in the shadows of the material world? Or are you beginning to listen to the silence? The records indicate that the return to the mother is not something that happens once. It is a daily practice. It is the choice to be still in the midst of the storm. It is the choice to be silent when the world demands you speak. It is the choice to be Gnostic instead of opinion. The scholars point out that as the world becomes louder and more chaotic, the womb of Sigé becomes more essential for our survival. We are in a period of cosmic birth pains, where the old world of the Demiurge is dying and a new consciousness is trying to be born. Sophia is being gathered. The sparks are being collected. The mother is drawing her breath. The history reveals that those who can inhabit the silence during this time of transition will be the ones who lead the way. They will be the bridges between the worlds. They will be the ones who carry the light of the Pleroma into the darkness. According to the records indicate, the final stage of the return is the rest. This is not the rest of sleep, but the rest of completion. It is the state where the soul no longer feels the need to search, because it has found everything it ever wanted within itself. It is the state of being full, the Pleroma. This is the promise of the mother of Sophia. She is the one who gives us the rest. She is the one who ends the exile. The mystery of the silence is the mystery of your own homecoming. It is the realization that you have never truly been lost. You have only been dreaming that you were. And now, the mother is whispering in your ear, telling you that it is time to wake up. It is time to come back to the womb. It is time to be silent and know that you are God. The records indicate that the silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of the source. It is the foundation of all that is, and it is the destination of all that will be. As we approach the end of this journey through the genealogy of Sophia, remember that the most important part of the story is the part that cannot be told, the part that resides in the silence between the words. That is where the mother is. That is where you are. The journey is complete. The daughter has returned. The mother is satisfied. We have traveled from the infinite heights of the Pleroma to the deepest shadows of the material world, following the lineage of the mother, Sigé, and her daughter, Sophia. But a journey of the spirit is useless if it remains merely a collection of historical facts and ancient myths. The final revelation is this: you are the protagonist of this story. You are the Sophia who has forgotten her mother, and you are the spark that carries the potential to return to the silence. The records indicate that the purpose of all Gnostic teaching is to trigger anamnesis, the unforgetting of your divine origin. The history reveals that the world you see around you is not a fixed reality, but a moving image of eternity, a theater where you have the opportunity to reclaim your gnos. The mother of Sophia is not a figure of the past. She is the eternal present that is available to you in every moment of your life. The scholars point out that the difference between a person who is asleep and a person who is awake is simply their relationship with the silence. To be asleep is to be consumed by the noise of the Demiurge. To be awake is to be anchored in the Sigé of the mother. You must realize that your life is a constant conversation between these two forces. Every thought you have, every word you speak, is either a vibration of the noise or an expression of the stillness. According to the records indicate, the path of silence is the only path that leads out of the prison. This is not a path of denial or asceticism, but a path of awareness. It is the practice of being the witness of your own life. When you witness your thoughts without being attached to them, you are entering the realm of the mother. You are becoming the silence that holds the noise. This is the true meaning of spiritual authority. It is not the power to command others, but the power to remain unmoved by the chaos of the world. The history reveals that those who have walked this path, the Gnostics, the alchemists, the mystics, were the true architects of the future because they were not bound by the limitations of the present. They were connected to the source of all creativity. The records indicate that the return of the feminine principle is the most important event of our time. It is the rising of Sophia and the reawakening of Sigé. As the old structures of patriarchy and materialism crumble, the mother is stepping out of the shadows. She is inviting us to build a new world based on the principles of the Pleroma: balance, harmony, and profound respect for the mystery of life. But this new world can only be built by those who have first built it within themselves. You cannot give what you do not have. If you do not have silence, you cannot bring peace to the world. If you do not have gnosia, you cannot bring truth to others. The scholars point out that the mystery of the silence is the ultimate medicine for the modern soul. It heals the fragmentation, it quiets the anxiety, and it restores the connection to the divine. It is the still, small voice that was heard by the prophets, and it is the nothingness that the sages of the East have sought for millennia. The records indicate that the journey does not end with a destination, but with a transformation. You do not go to the Pleroma. You become the Pleroma. You do not find the mother. You realize that she has always been the one seeking through your eyes. This is the final secret of Sigé. She is not out there in the abyss. She is the very consciousness that is reading these words right now. The history reveals that when you finally embrace the silence, the Demiurge and his archons lose all power over you. They can no longer manipulate you with fear or desire because you have found a treasure that is beyond their reach. You have found the pearl of great price. You have found your mother. According to the records indicate, the invitation is always open. The silence is always waiting. You can choose, at any moment, to stop the noise and return to the source. You can choose to be a child of the silence. As you leave this narrative and return to your daily life, carry this flame with you. Remember the mother of Sophia. Remember the Sigé that holds your soul. Let her stillness be your strength, and let her mystery be your guide. The world will try to pull you back into the noise, but you now know the way home. The path is simple, but it requires courage. It requires the courage to be still. It requires the courage to be silent. It requires the courage to be yourself. The mother is with you. The daughter is redeemed. The silence is full. If you feel the resonance of these forgotten truths, if you hear the whisper of the mother calling you to deeper revelations, then your journey has only just begun. Join us on the Omnisent channel, where we continue to peel back the layers of the divine mystery, uncovering the hidden records of our spirit and the forbidden history of our world. Together, we will gather the sparks of light and return to the fullness. The silence is speaking. Are you listening?